Hi, I'm Walt Medlin, BonusLife.com, here with a video about medical tourism. And again, I want to always remind everybody our real goal is to be a butt-kicking 80-year-old or better, but at least that is better to me than quality of life in terms of thinking about how I want to live my life and how I want to wake up, open my eyes when I'm 80 years old. I want to be able to go and do. So, about 1/3 of people in the state of Utah, and I'm in Salt Lake City, Bariatric Medicine Institute is my practice, and there's a website for that that's separate. This is my educational website. About 30% of people in the state of Utah do not have coverage for bariatric surgery, for weight loss surgery. And they will often go, I'm just going to say it right here, Mexico. They will go to Mexico preferentially to save money. I'm not here to scare you or to say that that's a bad idea necessarily, but we do see occasionally problems, and my colleagues at the University of Utah especially have a lot of experience in taking care of patients who have had problems, but it's not most people. I think the important thing that gets most of us docs in the U.S. scared when people go out of country for surgery, and this could actually even be said of even going to other states. If you travel 10 states away to have surgery because of family issues or for other reasons, our biggest concern is that you're not thoroughly evaluated before you get there. And I have heard so many people say, oh, well, I've done my research, and they usually don't really know what that means. It means they visited a few websites. They have not done thorough research, and you can tell that they haven't because they haven't talked to a single doctor in their local area before they go. None of us is going to stop you from getting on a plane. We can't. It's your body. But our fear is that people will travel for surgery, things will already be set up, and there will be things that were not evaluated that they didn't know on the other end. That's suddenly a surprise. And now you've traveled, you're ready, you've paid money, it's your day of surgery, and they are very reluctant to cancel, and that can be a real problem. So they'll go forward even with more risk than you needed to have. If they'd known about some things, they might have been able to manage them. And I also think there is particularly a risk for traveling out of country that a lot of these surgeons, like all of us, if somebody has a problem and comes home, a lot of these surgeons will say, well, then come back down, I'll fix it, because we know you're not covered. Now, that's actually not completely true. A lot of people do have coverage in the U.S., and then they get into an ever-increasing complexity or difficulty of surgery, and then now they've had 2 or 3 operations over a couple of years. For instance, people had a lap band. We take out lap bands and go to sleeve gastrectomy or go to duodenal switch all the time. But when you've had a lap band and you have a higher risk of a leak, if your Mexico surgeon put in a lap band and for some reason you need it out and to go to a sleeve, they're not necessarily going to say maybe you should have that at home because of a higher risk of leak. They feel a responsibility. Most of them are very good doctors. However, they don't necessarily have the hospital backing them up that we do. They're usually smaller hospitals. They don't have a high-level intensive care unit and intensive care unit doctors and specialists behind them. So my plea today is just that you, for best safety, that you have a consultation, and I should say evaluation, before you go. So if you have a lot of heartburn and reflux, you need to get an endoscopy here, and that's almost always covered by your insurance. A lot of people think none of their care is covered, but if it's related to reflux, you can get an EGD here at home. If you have a very large hiatal hernia, even if you go to Mexico, they will be glad to know about it before you go. They don't want to be surprised any more than we do. You should get labs done at home, and I know they check some labs before people go down, but a lot of people don't coordinate with their regular doctor or get specialty care. Especially sleep apnea, I'm not going to write all this down, but sleep apnea needs to be evaluated and usually stabilized before surgery. And a lot of patients don't understand. They think the surgery is just going to cure their sleep apnea, when in fact it can actually impact, again, your safety around the time of surgery. So there's a lot of things to think about. And again, on this list is to have that discussion about previous operations that you've had, because your risk may not be the same as your friends who went down last year, or especially your insurance coverage may be very different than your friend or your relative who went in a previous year. So it's tempting to go and save a lot of money by traveling but it's not always the best idea for everybody, and it costs very little money to get evaluated here before you go. Almost all insurance will cover consultation, and everything else from there is a recommendation that you can choose from in terms of if you want to get additional testing done. But you can take that consultation to whatever doc you go to and say, look, I've at least had this discussion. And I see that all the time, where patients saw surgeons when they lived in another place. A few years went by, they didn't have coverage. I'll still get a copy of that consultation to know what those surgeons were thinking at that time, even if surgery didn't happen. All right, thank you very much. I'm Walter Medlin, BonusLife.com. I hope this is helpful. And again, I hope I didn't spend much time disrespecting or fear-mongering or talking down about surgery out of country. And I hope that this was taken in with the respect that it was built. Thank you.